Hello everyone, this is Flash Anime bringing you my 12 days of, anime, even though I'm 9 days behind. Figured I'm gonna just squeeze, the first 9 into one video. Try to make it short and fast, but yeah, so, yeah, I guess I just was behind. So anyway, starting out with day 1. Surprise hits. This is basically stuff over the season that, just stuff that, I thought, was great and maybe people should have checked out, but some nominations basically are just Defrag, Engaged Identified, World Conquest of Esda, No Game No Life, Knights of Sidonia, Shingeki no Bahamut, and Yuki Yuna, Yushi, I just call it Yuki Yuna, and Shirobaku. And what qualifies as a surprise hit for me is something that, maybe I wasn't really going to check out originally, like, oh, this looks like it's going to be, slice of life, or harem, or, ecchi, something I'm really going to, know what I'm getting into, basically. And some of these shows on the list, maybe just because they're straight comedy, like Defrag being just labeled as comedy was, it's what you know what you're getting into with that. So, like Engaged Identify was one of those that kind of stood out a little bit for me, that was kind of a comedy, slice of life, but there's some extra things thrown in that kept you guessing, like a mystery on like what these two other characters are, what their supernatural was thrown in there. Was kind of interesting. Conquest of Vesda was another one of those that you think it's going to be one of these type of shows, like an action show, but this turned out to be like a mystery about a girl wanting to take over the world, and that to me was kind of interesting because you don't really see much of that. And then you have No Game No Life, which again a lot of people praised that when it was out, and all these shows in this list are just, like I said, shows that I normally wouldn't pick up, and it's like, interesting to watch. Out of the list, I think Shirabaku and Yuki Yuna could stay out, because Yuki Yuna, beginning of it wasn't introduced as a Magical Girl series originally. I mean, even the summary doesn't tell you about that until you actually watch the first 2 episodes, and you find out it's Magical Girls, and it deals with dark themes and things of like Madoka-esque type show, but I think Yuki Yuna kind of stands on its own. And, enough of talking about the nominations. The winner of this category, it's easily, Yuki Yuna for me, as someone who really enjoys Magical Girls, and I like that genre because, they're always doing something different, especially in this, I guess, year past, they've really taken the idea of Magical Girls and kind of experimenting with it. Like, obviously Madoka. First one to do it, yeah, I won't deny that the first one is to explore dark themed Magical Girls, which is fine. But Yuki Yuna, I think, stands on its own. I won't spoil it for the people that haven't seen it because it's technically still airing as I'm doing this recording. But yeah, it stands out because it deals with some dark themes that kind of keeps it original, and I think Yuki Yuna is a little bit better than Madoka because of the certain characters that appeal to me in that series. And I do feel a connection to a certain character in that series named Togo, because she it's a character that uses a wheelchair to get around, and that's kind of what in my real life experiences I use the same thing to get around, chair. So for that I can relate just a tiny bit. I mean, even though it's kind of a minor thing. I mean, it doesn't really slow that character down. She keeps going and fighting like her own strength and everything like that. So yep. So the surprise hits of day 1. Day 2 would be Kick-Ass Action. Now these are just a couple of shows that just kind of stood out as like being like action of the season, of the year actually I should say. But there might be some shows I might have missed because I kind of went through it kind of fast. But the nominations would be like Nobunaga, Noragami, I'll Know Zero, which I kind of classify as action, even though people are like, oh, it's mecha. But yeah, so, and then Parasite, which again isn't really typically an action, but it does have magical not magical, sorry, does have action moments in that series, so it technically counts. Akame ga Kill, which is kind of an obvious one there. It's action, gore, violence, people dying left and right every week, and especially near the end of the series. The winner of this category would be Parasite, because it's a series that I think would also fit, day 1 of surprise hits, because I thought it was it's gonna be a show about these aliens that take over the world, and there's a human that is sided with them, and he has to fight back, which is kind of what it is. But I mean, in the end, it's more about how this character grows from being this kind of wimp to maybe a stronger character, even though he's taking on these monsters every week. So, but yeah, there's day 3. Or day 2, sorry. Day 3, disappointing anime. Shows that had they look like they look pretty good. My example, this is Guilty Crown back in, when that came out. The trailers and the preview, everything looked really awesome. Looked cool, it's like, oh, it's gonna be great. And then you see it and it's just not that at all. Nominations for that are like, Magical Warfare, which, again, I don't know what made this look cool, but yeah, I guess the idea of him going to a school to learn magic was kind of interesting at the time. Again, another one would be Wizard Baristas, which looks really cool trailer-wise, animation-wise, looks really great, but something about it just falls apart, so yeah, I don't know. Dragonar Academy, which is kind of a weird show. I'm not sure if anyone watched that one, but yeah, it's so weird. Mahoka, Glass Slip, Tokyo ESP, Trinity 7, which is currently airing, and Psycho-Pass Season 2 was just wrapped up. I saw it last night, and the winner of this would be Glass Slip, because, PA Works, everyone knows, is usually a good studio that can do these dramas sometimes pretty well, these romance things they're doing, but I think Glass Slip, and I think the year before that, they had Red Data Girl, which was one of theirs, and it did not do anything for me. I couldn't care less about that series. Glass Slip was slice of life romance at its slowest, basically, because the main cast is just really uninteresting at the time. A lot of times, you really don't care for them at all, and they throw in this supernatural thing that just comes out of nowhere, and you're like, okay, this is kind of weird. Are they gonna explain anything? How this works? And they kind of do, but kind of don't at the same time. So, I mean, I don't know, PA Works kind of disappointed me with that. I would kind of expect a little bit better from them, especially the studio that is, well known for doing these great series on like romance and drama. But I guess people would say it's because they had a limited, episode count. But even then, I mean, there are certain shows that can do a good romance within, 10 or 11, 12 episodes, maybe even 13. There's even ones that, I think Nagi and Asakura kind of took a slow time, but yeah. Day 4, Hilarious Bad Anime. Basically, series that are kind of dumb, but you keep watching them because there's something that just keeps you interested. It's just something that either makes you laugh, or a character you like, or maybe a stupid gag that you might enjoy. And this category would be, Setai Yakandoma, which is sexual jokes every week. Wake Up Girls, which is an idol show with kind of meh artwork, but you want to see how these characters get to become famous idols. Altera, Eshi, and Logi, which is super slow. I don't know why I even watched it, but yeah, it was. Yeah. Next would be Akame no Riddle, which, yeah, the ending episode. Day Alive Season 2. It was very disappointing. Broomhilder in the Darkness. Again, it's kind of a gory show, but it has something interesting about it. Momo-kun Sword, was okay. Jinsei, Girlfriend Beta, gonna be the twin tail with the last one. And the winner of this category, I guess, would be Akame no Riddle, because every week they're showing these people that are gonna, they're assassins, so they're killing each other weekly. And you're like, oh cool, they're gonna die, and it's just gonna be this awesome action show. But, spoilers for those who have seen it or don't really want to see it. I'll save you the time because I think it's not that great. But, you think, again, all these girls are killing each other weekly, and you think, oh, they're gonna stay dead, right? No. By the time you get to the end of this series, near the end, all the girls are kind of technically alive. None of them really died, and yeah, it's just very train wrecky. But I think what kept me watching was just being curious to see if the main girl, I think her name was Toka, if she was going to be revealed to be, a badass assassin. And sort of kind of was, but not really. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they did with her. It's just very weird. Day 5 would be Terrible Mecha. Mechs that are just, they tried, but they just couldn't get off the ground. They just, but yeah. The nominees of this buddy complex: Nobunaga the Fool, Captain Earth, which I kind of slightly enjoyed. I felt bad putting it on there, but I have to be honest, it wasn't that great. Kinzen Robo Damodollar, which from the guys that did High School DxD, but nowhere near the same as, you know, that. It's vastly different than what DxD was. M3 The Dark Metal, which is a very slow show that I can't really recommend to anyone. Arvigillon, which just ended here, you know, a week ago. And Cross Ange, which is still airing. And it's fun, but at the same time it's very terrible. I don't really like what's going on in it. And the winner of this category would be Nobunaga the Fool, because it had I was so excited for this because it's going to be taking historical characters like, you know, Leonardo da Vinci and like Julius Caesar and all these different historical characters and kind of throwing them together in this one universe where they have these robots and there's mech fights and there's even Nobunaga fighting Caesar. And it sounds really cool. I mean, you have to admit that just seeing these historical characters kind of cross over into a big universe fighting would be an interesting idea, but unfortunately, you know, Nobunaga the Fool doesn't really do much with that idea. It's more like, you know, they throw those ideas in there, but they don't do much with it. They don't give you really any reason to like these characters. It's just, you know, week by week, it was just dumb fights, stupid character things, and yeah, romance it was okay. I mean, there's only one character I like in that series, with the girl that kind of fell in love with Nobunaga when they were children. I forgot her name, but she was the only character I actually liked, and she was the only reason why I watched the series. Even Joan of Arc, who was in the series, kind of didn't do much for me, unfortunately. Day 6, entertaining anime, which would be anime you can't wait to watch every week. It's just something that when you see the update, you just get so excited, or you're looking forward to. You know, I'm looking forward to Thursday, which is coming a trend of anime, which is like Thursday night's like the best anime night, or you know, the weekend usually the best time. Head nomination of this would be like Shinibyo, which had, you know, season 2. I wasn't a big fan of the first season because the way it ended, with the two main characters kind of just now falling in love at the very first season. But season 2 expands on that. Nisekoi, which you get to play who's the best girl every week, which that's big with the harem. When you have, you know, a bunch of characters that are likable, but you know, you don't know who's gonna win, and I still don't know who's gonna win. World Conquerors Zvezda, again, it was just fun to watch. Is this an Order of a Rabbit, kind of a K-On! Type show with slice of life, a lot of moe elements, a lot of, you know, cute things going on at once, and I kind of like that with that. It's just really fun. Ishuken Friends, which is very, you know, dramatic, sappy, kind of sad, and at the same time, you know, hysterical. There are some funny moments with the, I forgot her name, but she's kind of slow, or I guess her name is Saki, I think, yeah, Saki. She was one of the likable characters, and I think her romance with the a side character was maybe better than the mains, because the mains, you know, did get most focus, but they didn't really get a lot to do. So another one is Zaku no Terror. I guess the mystery kept me glued in. Gundam Build Fighters Try, which is still airing. That's just action and fun, and just a lot of cool characters and over-the-top fights. Last one would be Hitsugaya no Chaika, which, again, another series that just finished. That, you know, I guess if you watched it weekly, it made you mad, because it always left on a cliffhanger every week, and yeah, I guess Chaika herself maybe the series a little bit more fun. And the dragon, I forgot her name, but yeah, she was always fun too. And the winner of this category, which I feel kind of bad naming it because it's not even over yet, which is Gundam Build Fighters Try, which is basically about these 3 characters that participate in these model tournaments where they build Gundam models, and you can put them in a battle arena and basically fight other people with the same, I guess, models. And when you fight with them, they take damage, they blow up, they can shoot particle beams and laser beams, and they fight. And so if you ever seen an old series called Angelic Glare, this is a lot like that, but with Gundam instead. And you know, the characters kind of make the series. It's not so much the Gundams they use, but I guess the Gundams they use are more like fan service to show you, like, oh, this Gundam from this series is crossed over with this. So you have the dream fights, like the Wing Zero versus maybe the God Gundam from G Gundam, or you know, you had Strike Freedom versus the Burning Gundam, which is from G Gundam again. So there's a lot of dream battles. So if you like into that, you might like Build Fighters. But it is a season 2, but a lot of people don't really have to watch season 1. They'll get into this, in my opinion. Day 7, the best fills of this year. Shows that make you tear up a little bit, but maybe they're not going to push you over entirely, but they do have some emotion behind them. His nominees would be Inari Con, which was a show that I wasn't normally going to watch, but I checked it out after some people recommended it, and I fell in love with that series because there's a lot of good feels in that. Ichigan Friends, I think for me, every time the ending kicked in, I would just get a little choked up because it's over and you just want more. It keeps you hanging, like you have to watch more, and you're so glued to the characters, you just want to see what happens to them. All Hard Ride, the I guess shoujo romance, and I like that one. Hanamata Yata, which is a kind of a club-based show, dancing and singing. Like not singing, but just dancing in general. And they have some pretty fun characters. Inu Battle, which to my surprise, Studio Trigger, the guys who do Kill la Kill, and Little Witch Academia, they took Inu Battle and threw in maybe some little bit of clan-ish type moments when you have characters that like each other, and just seeing the chemistry between two characters on screen is just nice. Maybe ones that you wouldn't think would get together, but there's some feels in that series with other people like to believe it or not. There are. Next would be Sora No Method, which again still airing. I haven't seen the final, but that show gives me gets a little feels in there sometimes. There are moments that, especially near the end of the series with Noelle going through what she's going through, just leaving and all that. It's kind of sad. And yeah. The next one would be Yuki Yuna, which again I won't spoil because it's really good. People should watch it. Has a few moments that kind of catch you off guard, but some that you can see a mile away. When certain characters go through a certain event, you can kind of guess what things going to happen. Where things are going. Barakamon, I think it's more like comedy feels. Like it made me laugh a lot, but there are some parts that do make me a little teary-eyed and just catch me off guard. But the winner of this one would be, and before I get the winner, hang on, I'll throw in maybe Sword Art Online, the last arc. I think the last 2 episodes, or last 3 episodes, had a lot of feel in it, because, Yuki, the character that's in that arc, the main focus, goes through a lot of, dramatic stuff with her, life, and she's got a disease, and it's just, I can relate to things like that, because again, I go through similar things. But maybe not as life-threatening as what she went through, but yeah. The winner would be this, I guess, Alhara Ride. There's, when that was airing, there was like a part of my life that it's kind of hard to talk about, but I mean, I do like sharing it. That, when that was airing, my dad I guess, got sick, and he went to the hospital, and I guess they, did some tests and stuff, and they did find out he had cancer, and that's kind of the thing that just kind of stands out to me, that even though, he survived all that and he's fine now, it still wakes you up and like, damn, that's, as realistic as you can get to anything that's, I guess someone, almost dying. So it's just, yeah, it's for me all hard ride, because they revealed with her, I guess the main kid's dad, or mom, that she went through something, and it's just like, it touched me that. Seeing him go through that, I was like, damn, not really mirrored my life, but I mean, it did pick me up to that. But yeah, Our Hard Ride definitely stands out because, I went through something and I could see it on through the anime, so it was just kind of, I guess, pretty close to me on that one. Day 8, just a little different, not really in a category of awards, but a manga that I discovered this year. Usually I don't read bunch of manga, but people recommend stuff and I see it being talked about, and yeah, so starting out with Ko no Katashi, which is basically a series about, I guess, a girl who's, I guess, she's born and she's deaf basically. So it follows her life through being bullied at school, and how the guy who bullied her in elementary school and everything, middle school, kind of gets the backlash later on when he starts getting bullied, and he starts feeling how she felt, and they jump to, I guess, when they go to high school and they see each other again, and it's kind of this back and forth between him and her and a bunch of other characters that get involved in this, big story about bullying in general. I guess is what the theme of that manga is. That recently wrapped up and it's getting an anime, I think a series, but I think they changed it to a movie now, which is fine. I don't mind that. Next is Boku Girl, which I think has been around for a little bit, but that's about, I guess, a guy who gets tricked on by Loki, the god of, that is if you've seen the Marvel movies. But I guess Loki in this universe is a chick, like a little kid, that turns this main guy, into a girl because he's very feminine, very girly. And so now he's got to live this life as a girl, but he still likes this other girl that he wants to get close to, but I guess he can't reveal the fact that he's not really a boy anymore. So you have this back and forth between her and him that she's trying to figure out what gender he is because she thinks he acts girly, but she's seen pictures of him as a kid that he's a boy. So it's like she's confused on what's going on. And of course you got another friend that's kind of stuck in the middle. He's a childhood friend of this other kid, and they start having these feelings towards each other too. So it's like, what's gonna happen? So it's very funny. Even the people that probably take that as a gender bender, not really their thing, but I find it very hilarious sometimes. Next one is Gaku Gorishi, which is about a zombie apocalypse. Basically, you have these kids in a high school. I guess they're high schoolers, but it basically is a zombie apocalypse. So you follow these 3 or 4 girls that kind of go day-to-day life of being survivors in the zombie world, and it's more dark than people would think. Because the designs on the characters look very cute, very moe. I like them, but it's more of like a psychological horror because in the beginning, I don't want to spoil it because people might want to read it, but it deals with a lot of psychological issues, how people, I guess adapt to a world like that. When they, I guess, one of the girls goes to world of make believe, she is imagining everything like it's a normal day at school, not realizing the zombies here, and maybe she does know, but maybe she doesn't know, but it's very interesting how they dealt with all that. Next would be Boku no Hero Academy, which is about students that go to a school to learn how to be superheroes. I guess everyone in this universe is born with a power, but the main kid, who's the main focus, is born without an ability, doesn't have any powers, and he's kind of like made fun of for that fact. And he even, back in school, he makes the comment that he wants to be a hero, and a bunch of kids that have powers are making fun of him like, you can't do that, you have no power. And so it's basically about how this kid gets a power eventually through a weird way. I wouldn't say he's got a power technically, but he's got a kind of a borrowed power. But yeah, he's going through a lot of stuff now, and it's fun watching him just fight. Next would be Boku no Karoso Mechanical, which is, if you ever seen the Terminator movies, it's based off kind of like that premise where this one guy is being hunted by these machines that I guess can blend into a human society, so you don't know if there's a robot or there's a human, but he's basically being hunted because I guess in the future he builds this kind of technology that is super important, but he doesn't realize he's going to do that yet. And so they send another robot to kind of be his bodyguard, and she's like a little lolly Terminator robot, which I guess I haven't really read much of it, but I've only read the first 3, but her job is to protect him and make sure he doesn't die. So that involves her being in his life the entire time, and she doesn't really know how to act with humans. So he's got to teach her things like that, and I guess there's like a scientist that prepares her, and it's very different, but people would probably classify it as ecchi harem because I think that's where it's going. Next would be UQ Holder, which is, I think, Negama. If you ever read Negama, this is like, I think, a couple years in the future of Negama universe, and that one's kind of interesting. Even though I've never read Negama, I've seen the animes, I know what it's about, and that one has like a supernatural twist with, I guess it deals with a lot of people that are immoral, basically. So you have a team of immoral people working together, and it's very interesting. I like how they did some of that stuff. And the winner, I guess not winner, but one I recommend is Boku no Hero Academia, which again is very fun. The art style is kind of unique and out there. I think that's why I like it, because I do like to draw, so this show kind of inspires me to maybe draw a little bit more out of the box and not, be a basic designer for characters, so that's why I like it. And there's some fun characters, and the action's really good, and it's just addictive. You get to a certain character you like, and you're like, man, I want to see more of this character. And the cast of characters, again, they're just likable. And finally, at day 9, which I guess is today, gut-busting comedy stuff that just I can't stop laughing when I watch it. Always has something funny going on. Yeah, nominees would be Defrag, which was non-stop, 4-Coma style comedy, which every episode was just fun to watch. And next would be Kawaii Complex, which I guess technically is more of a slice of life romance, not really a comedy, but it's a rom-com, I guess. But there's just moments that just make you laugh so hard in that series that almost makes you laugh when you get close to getting in tears almost. I would say the same with the next one would be Barakamon, which has a lot of those moments that when they happen just makes you laugh so hard. Gokuri Kokuri song, which has not ended. I haven't seen the ending yet, but that one has dark humor, I guess. You see this girl going through all the stuff she's going through, and she can't really make friends and everything, so I'm supposed to feel sorry for her, kind of like Watamote when that was out at the time, but yeah, so. And the next one would be Wolf Girl and Black Prince, which is another one of those shows that, I guess it's technically a shoujo, but this one's more, I guess some people have, mixed feelings about this series. Some like it, some hate it because of how the main girl, Erica, acts around the other kid, the one that she's interested in. He's always treating her like trash and like dirt, and just mocks her and everything. Doesn't want to return her feelings, and slowly she starts getting her way into his life, and he starts maybe accepting the feelings for her. But yeah, it's a lot of people don't like because it's an uphill battle. You gotta work your way through it and keep watching it. Next would be Denki Kai, or a guy. Basically, I think it's about a show where it's kind of like working in service, where you follow a team of people that work at this manga shop, and each of them kind of have these quirks about them. You have a sensei who's a manga artist, who's that's her thing she does. You have one that's a writer. She likes to write manga, and they work in this manga shop and they sell manga, and it's just funny seeing these characters interact together. I wouldn't even throw it as being a romance, because there are some romantic elements thrown in, but no real payoff, unfortunately, for those who are wanting to watch for a romance. I would say watch it for the comedy. It's really funny, and the art style is a little unique, I would say, out of all the shows on that list. Another one would be Gekkan Shoujo, which is fun because it's it's supposed to be like a shoujo romance, but this one is more on the comedy. And the winner of that one would obviously be my favorite, Gekkan Shoujo, of the comedy season, because it's just there are gags that happen that just make you laugh so hard. Like, I remember a moment when they're talking about bikes, so because the main guy, he's a manga artist and he writes manga, he writes shoujo manga. That's his thing. So he's thinking about different ways to get his two characters to interact, and Sakura, the main girl, that she kind of gives him ideas that riding a bike and on the back of someone's bike is kind of romantic. So he gets the idea that he thinks that she meant that riding a big bike with multiple seats, and so he tries to reenact these events for his manga so he can get an idea, and he brings his bike out, and Sakura's she's expecting to hang on the back of him so she can get close to him because she likes him, but he kind of throws it off like, no, I meant like a multiple seat bike. They kind of ride it, and Sakura, he's just asking her like, is this romantic? He's like, so Sakura's just like, yeah, totally. And that series just has a bunch of different characters that are just so much fun to watch. When they're on screen, they just can't help but grin and laugh because they're always doing something in the background, or they maybe get a main focus and they get to be goofy for a bit. It's, I don't know, Gekkan Shoujo is probably my favorite comedy right now of this, obviously of this year, but I'm looking forward to the year to come, because I know that actress is going to be doing a lot, and she's slowly getting to become one of my favorites. But yeah, that's been my, I guess, 9 days. Sorry for the long video, but yeah, see you guys at day 10 when I can do one video.